So today we are going to build a small Hackernews. I don't know if you are familiar with the website. Let me show you. So this is the original. As you can see, it looks like it was built in the 80s. Okay, let's see some of the code. Oh yes, it's using some tables. Look, it's a big table. Who's using tables today to build their websites? Nobody, no? Okay. Well, we are going to build this awesome Hackernews, but using modern technologies. And one thing that I want to do is also make it serverless. Who is using serverless here? Okay, who knows what is serverless? Okay, probably you don't know. You're just embarrassed. But okay, we are going to build. I'm going to try to build it live, and then when I get stuck, I will switch to my solution. So let's start. So first, I'm Gerard Sanz. I'm not French. I know my name sounds very French, but I'm originally from Barcelona. So my name, it's pronounced Gerard Sanz. This is Catalan. In French, I don't know. Probably Gerard Sanz, something like this. It seems like I was French in another life, something. But Catalan, it's usually referred as French. I don't know why, maybe because we are close. I'm a developer advocate at AWS. And as you can see, I have plenty of time to do selfies. This is my cat. And I'm a developer, as my t-shirt says. Very good. I've been doing talks full-time for the last 4 years. So if you want to do the same as I did, you just need to leave your job, your day job, and just go to meetups and events all over the world. I mean, it's easy. You just need to do it. So I'm coming now from a trip I did to China, Taiwan, Philippines, and now Paris for this week for API days. And then I'm going to New York. You know, that's the life. What are you doing the next 2 weeks? Okay, so enough. Okay, so I'm going to be using a tool that it's built from AWS, which is called AWS Amplify. And AWS Amplify helps you build full-stack serverless applications. And probably if you don't know what is serverless, you are more confused now adding full-stack serverless. But it's basically building a full-stack application which is using serverless in the background. And AWS Amplify will help you to do that very easily. And somehow this is a new paradigm, which is pretty new. I mean, serverless is pretty new. It's maybe 2 years old. And now we are seeing new tooling appearing. This is part of the tooling that you can see also with other cloud providers. And it's very exciting because you can build full-stack serverless applications in just few steps. And I want to demonstrate that today so you can see what you can do. And AWS Amplify covers, of course, web, but it also covers native with React Native as well. And there's few things that it includes. It's a framework because it gives support to all of these different platforms. There's also developer tools that I'm going to demonstrate today. And of course the cloud services. How many people is using AWS or any cloud provider? Okay, how many services are you using? Like the order? 7? Like who's using more than 10? Okay, few people, very good, very good. How many services do you think there are? Like in AWS, for example?
Big services?
Oh, any number of services, like different services. There's more than 150 services. And each of these services can be like a door to a new universe. I mean, these are like complex services. Depending what you want to do, you can do a lot of things. And I'm going to show you some of these and also a few demos. And you will see what I mean. But in the center of all of these different pieces, there's the CLI. And usually you will have some experience with the CLI. That will give you all of these, different functionalities that will, for example, scaffold your solution and add all of the dependencies for you. Okay. So this is more or less like an overview, what brings to you. And then that brings the topic of full stack serverless. And full stack serverless, as you can see, full stack is a unicorn. And you may wonder why is a unicorn. I mean, who is full stack these days? Full stack means that you do everything from... That's a lot of work. Knowing how to do back and front. I mean, who's doing CSS? Who's... Okay. You are the only one? Okay, few people are doing CSS. Okay, who is doing database? Okay. Who is doing communications like transport? Security? Augmented reality? Machine learning? Okay, there's a lot of different topics, but if you want to cover full stack, it's not easy. There's a lot of things to cover. And of course, serverless. I mean, serverless is also a new way of building applications. So this just covers the whole thing. And this is not something that you can use today. It's something that is coming. It's probably going to be ready in 1-2 years. But we are starting to see how that will look like. Very good. So as an overview, we have a modern tool chain. Some libraries, there's also UI components, so you have some UI components for React Native and React. Also, if you are developing for iOS or Android, you also have these UI components available. And the way it looks when you are developing, the developer cycle, it's more like this. So we will start initializing a project, and this is also part of a CLI, so that will be Amplify init. And these are the commands. That's the first one for any project. Then we will add what is called a category. And these categories will cover different services. So each time that you want to add a new feature, you will run Amplify add and the name of the category. Today I'm going to use the API category, and we are going to build a GraphQL server with it. Then, of course, that's working locally. When we want to create the resources in provision on the cloud, we're going to use push, and that will create those resources depending on what we want to be using for that particular app. And of course, then we can go and change it at any time. So this is how the developer cycle looks like. You're using any tools like this today? Like for React, I'm not sure there's any tool like this. For React, for Angular and Vue, we have CLIs that do similar things, but I'm not sure if React has something like that. Probably not. Okay, so that's something really exciting. Then for categories, we cover many things. Of course, if you are building an app, you will need like some kind of authorization. You will need to build some APIs to get your data. There's also support for interactions. This is chatbots. Analytics. What do you think is this XR? Okay? So you said virtual reality?
Mixed reality.
Mixed reality? What else?
All the
Everything.
everything.
The whole world universe is there. I mean, you have like a clue there. There's some glasses, but it's augmented reality and virtual reality, the two together. So that's saving some characters there. And of course, the storage, if you want to store some images or some binaries, you can use the storage category. Who knows about these functions? Who has used lambdas? Yeah, the people that were using the cloud. So these lambda functions are like Node or built-in Node or any other languages that you can run after an event has triggered that feature. And you can run any sorts of logic there that will be on the server side. Then we have hosting. Support. So these are some of the services, and you will ask yourself, like, if there are more than 150 services in AWS, where are these services? Well, this is just the beginning. So this tooling, it's supposed to be covering as many services as possible, but these are the first services covered. And the funny thing is that if you want to access some service that is not covered by these categories, you can always create a function and then access anything that is available in AWS. So actually you can do anything you want. Just back in September, we released a new package, and this includes a lot of features around machine learning. And this would cover translation, poly, that is text to a speech. We also have the opposite, so you can record audio and it will get you a transcription. Recognition will do facial recognition, and comprehend will find metadata from images and video. I mean, most of these services are quite impressive. And I usually build for Angular. I'm an Angular Google developer expert, but today, I mean, I must thank the organizer because he made me do this talk in React, so I built it in React. But I have some demos and I want to show you what is possible. And so this is one demo that I built, and is using this facial recognition service. And my idea was to demonstrate that feature, and I thought, okay, so if I can recognize people, I want to recognize Keanu Reeves. And then I went ahead and built this app. So you can pass any images and it will find not actually Keanu Reeves, but it can also find any celebrity, and it shows few features on the face, like the eyes and where the mouth is at. And for example, I have some pre-selected images, and this is live now, so you can see how fast it is. Yeah, that's it. So the main idea behind this app was to take a picture and then know if the celebrity was in that picture. And it was specialized for Keanu. Very good. Let's see this one. Okay, no, it's not Keanu. I mean, if you think about it, this is very silly because everybody can do this, even kids can do this like very fast. But how do you think it's a good use of this technology? A good scenario, like use case. Python. No, I mean like to solve a problem, like a real life problem, not this, not finding Keanu Reeves. But if you wanted to use these, I mean, I'm showing the feature. So this is how the feature looks like. Where would you use this in a real scenario?
You you can do eye disease recognition automatically.
Okay. Yeah.
You take a picture of yourself and you know if you have eye disease.
So this is using a model that it's able to recognize features from piano grips, but you can also use a different model to recognize diseases. Yeah, that could be trained for that.
Could detect not safe for work pictures?
Not safe for work pictures. Yeah, that's a good one. And usually this is used to just filter pictures. Imagine you have 20,000 pictures and you want to just find few pictures with specific people on them. If you want to do this many times, it will take forever if someone has to do that. So this is to automate this kind of categorization and filtering. And if you are, of course, you need to be like a press agency or someone that is dealing with a lot of pictures, otherwise it's not so useful. But it's something that you need to think how it would cost you to build this feature. I mean, this is something that now it's just an API that you can use. You need to find a problem that will be useful for this feature, but it's the powerful features that you have access to. And this is also another demo that I built, and this is more a data integration example, and I'm just hooking into a public API. This is from Transport for London, and it's giving me the number of bikes in different dock stations. Of course, because we are not in London, I need to use a fake location. So this is based in Piccadilly Circus. So let's see how many bikes if we were now in Piccadilly Circus, how many bikes it will be for our use. Okay, so there's a lot. I mean, there's not many trouble, not like here, you have a lot of trouble with the public transport. In London, you could take a bike now, go back home. Here we have many bikes. And this is very easy also to integrate with the features that I'm going to show you. So these are a few demos. We can go back to the slides. And today we are going to build this Hackernews mini. And let me just show you very quickly how the final demo looks like. So this is the final demo, and you can, let me just demonstrate. So you can see a few articles. These are just links. If I click, I will navigate. Nothing too crazy. And then I can see like some data. I can vote. I have these arrows to vote if I like them. I also have the chance to log in and then submit new URLs. So I can see that there's few. I have just 2 users now, this test and myself. And you can see how that will look like. The main idea is that you can register, and then once you register, you have access to more features. So I'm going to use the login. And look at this styling. It's awesome. And you will think like, okay, Gerard, that's too much. I cannot see this. My eyes are crying. Okay, let's see the real one. So this is the real one. Let's see the login. I mean, I tried to copy the original one. I think maybe I did too good of a job. Okay, we're going back to the 80s again, where links are blue. And I'm going to just log in. One thing that I want to show you is that this is now one of these controls from AWS Amplify. So of course I removed the styling and then I tweak it a little bit, but now I'm using one of these controls that is already made. So I can log in, and now I can see my username, and then I have access to submit. I mean, nothing too crazy. Then if I log out, I just get like the public anonymous access, which is just the links. Okay. Actually, Hacker News is quite popular when you want to share your blog posts. So it's not, I mean, the technology is really, is really old, but actually the website is pretty useful. And if you get your blog post in Hacker News and it's at the top, you get a lot of views. So that's very good. Okay, so this is more or less what I'm going to build. And we are going to go through the different stages. So the first thing, I'm going to add the authorization. And I'm going to just start from the beginning. Okay, let's see how that goes. Okay. So I'm just creating, just scaffolding a new app. Very, very exciting. Okay, and I have some instructions here so I can use that. Very good. Okay, so once I got my application scaffold, I'm going to install some dependencies. And here you can see the main core, that's AWS Amplify. And then we also have the bindings for React. And that will give me some of these controls and UI components. I'm also going to use this library to create unique identifiers. So that's going to be my next step. Okay. Oh my God, NPM is so noisy. Okay, so that's going to be running on the background. The next thing that you will do is install the CLI. And here you can see this is the AWS Amplify CLI. Of course, I already did that, so I'm going to skip it. The first thing you need to do is link your environment with your AWS account. And this is, of course, for caching. The thing is, after you log in and create your user, you will have a 1-year free plan that will cover most of your usage. And there's different tables to see how much usage you can do of the different services. I mean, it's always per service. But for example, for the machine learning, you have something like $5,000 usage. I mean, of course, nobody's going to be using that unless building a full application. But you can do like normal, you can explore different services, it's all good for 1 year. In that process, you will select what is called AWS region, and that will be the one that will give you the fastest response. So here, for these instructions, I was using Southeast 2, which is Sydney in Australia. So that's not a good one for you. You need to pick either, I think there's one in Paris, or it could be Frankfurt. I mean, you can also check which region gives you the best response, like the shortest response. And that will create a profile in your machine that you can then create any apps, and that will link it to your user. So that will be the initial setup. The next thing that I'm going to do is run this Amplify init. Okay, so we can do that now. And I'm going to pick some of these details. It's interesting, one of the first questions is what environment I want to use. And this is when we are using different environments for staging, deployment, and you can replicate that with this tooling. I'm going to use dep. And it also recognizes the technology that I'm using. For me, it's going to be React. Okay. Most of the answers are just default, so it's quite quick. and I'm going to use my profile. Okay, so that will now create some of the resources in the cloud. And I'm just showing you how fast it is. And so far it's good. Let's see the next step. So the next step for me will be to add this authorization. Let's see if that is finished. And maybe while this is working, I'm going to do one thing. So I show you at the beginning what the different pages look like. One thing that you get by using Amplify is that we also get, for example, the workflows for creating a new account, and also if you forget your password, and all the normal flow that you will have to build if you want to create an app is also included. So I'm going to go ahead and create a new account, so you can see what's the flow. And what I'm going to use, I'm going to use React Paris. Okay, and the password, I'm going to use very secure password. I'm going to use my email, and this is just a fake number. Okay. One thing that we get with Amplify is we get two-factor authentication. So now I'm going to receive a message, and it's going to give me that confirmation code. Probably the best. Okay. Let me just open very quickly my mail. Don't take pictures. Okay. Nothing embarrassing. Okay, very quickly. So here I get my confirmation code, and I will just go ahead and create my user. So now React Paris and my passport. And one thing that I did for this workflow to work is every time that a user goes and creates a new password and user, it will also create that user in my GraphQL schema. Because when I'm creating the new articles, I need to relate those articles to the user that created those articles, and I need to link that with the user that Amazon Cognito is using behind the scenes. So let's just create that. So now we can see that React Paris is logged in, and I'm going to check that that user is now part of my data. So I can see a few users here. We have myself, and here it is. So this is just because I link the event of creating a new user, and then I created that user, so now I can use it in my application. So that will make a link between the users that I create and the application. So now every time the user creates a new entry, I can use the information already in my GraphQL schema. Okay, so now we have done that. Let's see. I'm not going to be going ahead just to show you while it was implementing. Okay, so now we're going to run this command to get the authorization added, and I'm going to use this configuration, which is just adding the email, and after adding the category I can just run Amplify push. So that's going to create an identity pool where I could then add these different users. Okay, so this is an overview. So this is the status of my Amplify project, and it's telling me that it's creating this resource and using AWS CloudFormation. Of course, when I was showing you the demo, that's using a different environment. We are creating a new one in this. Okay. All right. Okay, I saw that error before. Okay, so now that there is an error, because when we run a command, and every command will be atomic, so if now it has thrown an error, it will just roll back all of the changes. So now it's going to remove all of these resources until I fix the error. For this error, I need to run init again, so I'll just run it. Okay, no problem. Just because I use the same environment, it has collided with the previous one. So I need to create a new one. Now I'm using master instead of depth. That should fix it. Okay. Amplify it. Okay, let's try again. And if it fails, then we forget about it. Okay. Oh, it's working. Oh, let's see. This is the one that was giving the error. Okay, it worked. So we passed through that. I was like, oh my God, not today. Okay, that's going to work. So I'm going to now use that to create my users, and we can run a command to get to the console. So let me just do that. I also can maybe add some more code. So let's do a little, I need to change a little bit to just render that authorization component. So let me do that. Okay. So here what I'm doing is when I run Amplify init, it just created a file that I can use to run the configuration, and that will set up my Amplify environment. Let's see when that's finished. And here, the next thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to change my application to use this with Authenticator, and that will render the control to do the login. Just need to wait until it's finished. Let's do that. Okay. So this change is just replacing this app component with this high order component, and that will include the authenticator, which will render my my login. So let's save all of this and let's whoop. What is this? Oh, I'm not in the folder. Oh my God. Okay, that's not good news. Because then I run all of the commands on the wrong folder. Okay, let's recover. Did I install this or not? Here. Okay, it seems I didn't. Alright, so I just installed some of the dependencies in the wrong folder. Very good. So let's see what's the other. I think that's the only one. Okay, that should fix it. Very good. Okay, so of course I'm running already one application that port. So it seems my Amplify init didn't work. Of course I run Amplify init on the wrong folder as well. Okay, let's match it. Sorry about that. Okay. Okay, let's forget it. Because I will have to repeat everything from the beginning. Okay, no problem. At least we tried. Okay, so I have the solution here anyway. And let's see how I got there. So first things first, I have my configuration. So this is the configuration I was trying to do with the new app. And that's going to use the configuration. So something failed there. I should be able to see these AWS exports here. Here. So that can show me all of the different settings that I use for my application. Here I'm using Europe West 2. And it also gives me the information from the identity pool and also my GraphQL endpoint. I mean, this is the next step. So the first step was adding the authorization, which I couldn't show. But in my solution, I did that. And then I also go ahead and create the GraphQL endpoint. So let's go and show what the authorization looks like. Amplify console. So anytime that we want to use the console for any category, we can just write this command, amplify console, and then auth, and that will open for me the console. No. Okay. Okay, so what is this? Of course, I'm not in the right folder. Okay. Oh my God. Okay. So here I have few users. We can also see the one that I created while we were installing the dependencies in the brown folder. So this is the React Paris user. And one thing that we can see is that it's using, for this is using the email verification. You can also activate the phone. You can also send SMS to do that first authentication. You can here see when the users when the user was created, when the user is accessing. There's also information about some kind of unique identifier. This is the same that I'm using in my application. So you can see here. Okay. So now it has removed all of my queries. Very good. Okay, let's forget it. Okay, I'll have to write the query again. Okay, so this is just a simple query that will show me the users, and we can compare these IDs. So for example, in my Cognito user pool, I can see that this user, which is React Paris, is using this 647, and here if I find the ID is exactly the same. So now I can map these two users and they can be in sync. So now every time that I interact with the application, I can link that user with my data. Okay. So the next thing that I want to show you is how I build the security around these different components. So I'm going to show you how that looks like. And here what I created is this routing component, so that's going to handle these different routes. So you can see the home. The home for Hackernews is exactly the same, both if you are authenticated or not. So that's going to be exactly the same as a public URL. The only one that is going to be protected is this new. So the new one, I think we haven't seen it. So if we want, now we are logged in with React Paris, we can go and submit a new URL. So that will be protected by this private root component, and that's using this implementation. So I'm just passing the authenticated user and then redirecting to login if it's not authenticated. Of course, I'm just passing the information after the user logs in, and that's going down using the props. So we can see that here. I'm using this, the render attribute to just pass down the props, and then the props is having that authentication from the application. And this is how I pass down that information. What I've used is a service implementation, so I can access the different properties. And it looks more or less like this, so I can access the logged information, the user, and in order to implement that, I'm using this AWS Amplify Auth, which will give me all of the APIs to do that. And here I just run this current authenticated user, and then I'm just storing that in one of the properties so I can access it later. If we see, for example, how I use that information on the header component, you will see that I'm just using the props. Here I'm using use state to just set that user when I first render the component, and then on the actual view I'm using this to just render the different options. So I guess this is pretty standard, and that covers the authentication. For the GraphQL API, I will just have to run the same commands, similar commands, amplify add API, and what will give me is access to the schema. So I'm going to show you that very quickly. So this is the schema that I used for the final solution. So it uses this add model transform, and that will create all of the APIs in the backend and link it to DynamoDB. So that's pretty smooth. If you want to create your own GraphQL API, that will take you some time, but with AWS AppSync, you can just automatically create all of those resources in the backend by using these add model transforms. We can also relate different types by using a connection. So that will allow me to connect the commands into the items. The items is a little bit funny, but in Hackernews they use, instead of URLs or links, they use items. I don't know why. We can see it maybe in the, let me log in. Wait. If you see, the implementation is using the API item. So I use the same. And here I can connect my items with the commands. I'm using, who is not familiar with GraphQL? Okay. So in GraphQL we define types, and these will be our entities, and then these will have different fields. This is pretty straightforward. So we have item type, which has these fields. This is very much like a JSON object or JavaScript object. Then probably the most mysterious is this exclamation point. That's a mandatory field. And then we have like some types that are built with GraphQL spec, and some other types that I can build myself. So what I did is I create my own user type, and then for the ID, I'm using the ID from AWS, Cognito, and that will also give me some proprietary fields. This is a datetime that I can use, so I don't have to build it myself. And then the other things that I also build is the commands and the bots. So I can also add bots. So basically what will happen is I can write my whole schema, and AWS AppSync will build all of the server side, including the data tables and everything. So I'm going to show you how that looks. So this is the environment. This is the console for AppSync, which is managing the API side of my application, and it provides me both REST APIs and GraphQL. For GraphQL, it gives me this view, which is the schema, and this is one way to look at it. Of course, we created on that schema on the Visual Studio, we just created the types, but on the server side, AppSync created all of these, which will give me search capabilities, filter capabilities. It will create the CRUD operations. So all of that is inbuilt. We can see some of the details here, but probably the easiest way to look at it is by looking at the docs. So that gives me all of these different features. So I get for each of the types, I can query by ID, I can query by list, and these are all created by the tooling. Okay. So that's pretty much like a very short demo. I mean, I wanted to show you how I could build the app myself, but I failed. I mean, this is new for me. I usually build with Angular, but I mean, I got pretty far. It's okay. I mean, the styling was on point. Okay. Very good. So that's my talk. I don't know if you have any questions. That was pretty much my effort to create like a small hacker news, which I did. So I'm pretty satisfied. So you have any questions on anything that maybe you are missing from my explanation?
On the AppSync?
Yes.
You have some books here when somebody called one of the GraphQL.
Yeah. So for example, so the way it implements the links between the resolvers and the DynamoDB tables, I can show you. So this is, you need to pick, for example, we want to see how the titles and URLs are coming back, like the items. So we can go and find the query. So for that query, I'm going to use list items. So that's the API that I can use. And this is the resolver. So if I look at this, it just links with the item table. So that will be the DynamoDB table that is behind this resolver. And I can go to the data sources and open that table. So let's open the item table. I mean, that was created for me. And then I can see, we can pick one of these. So this is how the data for one of these links is stored. So here I can see also other fields that were added automatically, like this created add and updated add. These are internal, but you can access to them. And the other ones were created from the schema. So the schema was the source for all of these to happen. So of course you can then, one thing that I didn't show you is that by using the schema, You can, for example, add indexes for some of these relationships. So, for example, if I wanted to add an index that was a little bit more complex than just linking with the ID of a command, I could also sort it by the creation date. So this command, I could use a combined index that will use the ID and also the created add field. Some other things that I can do is I can also add authentication like security to specific fields. So I can say this field can only be read by anyone, but it can also be created by a specific user. These are different extensions that I can use, similar to this add model. Okay, so that's more or less how it works. Of course, it needs more explanation to show you all of the capabilities that you can use in the resolvers, but that's more or less how it looks.
So AppSync is like a middleware between GraphQL and DynamoDB?
AppSync, it puts all of these together. So by using the schema, when I run the command amplify push, of course I need to create an API. But when I create the API using that schema, AWS AppSync is going to look at what you wrote in your schema and then create the different objects and different steps. So it will just create the data source and everything that is necessary for that API to be running.
And Amplify will automatically.
And Amplify is just what it's running the command behind. So this is just one of the categories. You can use other services, but this one is the one responsible for APIs. For machine learning is a different one. But AppSync is kind of the boss for this. Okay, so that's all. Thanks a lot.